Let's talk about what it takes to score a 170 or above on the LSAT. Hey, what's up everybody? Steve Schwartz here from LSAT Unplugged, joining you today to share what it takes to score in the 170s on the LSAT. Before I get into it, a little bit about LSAT Unplugged. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. Check out the links below this video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd love to help you out. So the reason I'm making this video is that I know that a lot of you out there are looking to score in the 170s on the LSAT, and I personally love working with students who have that goal as well. And the kind of prep it takes to score in the 170s is different than you might think. If we take a look at Prep Test 92's raw score conversion chart, for example, you can miss 9 questions out of 75 and score a 170 on the nose. Now, folks typically might assume that means you're going to miss -3 on games, -3 on reading comp, -3 on reasoning. In other words, you'll miss 3 questions or get 3 questions wrong on each of the 3 scored sections, and that's how you end up with your -9. However, that's rarely how it actually works in practice. In my experience, the students who get a score of 170 on the LSAT or above are typically getting perfect on games, maybe -1, and then they're losing their points on the other remaining sections. So your typical distribution would actually be for that exam -4 on reading comp, -4 on reasoning, and then maybe -1 on games, or you're losing the extra point on one of those other sections as well, which is for the simple reason that reasoning and reading comp have so-called perceived ambiguities of language that you're not going to see on games, which is more clear-cut, more mathematical, more direct, and unambiguous. So if you're looking to score in the 170s, you want to aim for perfect on games because it's a lot more straightforward. That means you're going to want to do, ideally, the majority of released LSAT logic games going back several years or more. There are nearly 400 released logic games on the LSAT. There are nearly 100 released LSAT exams. Times 4 games per exam is how you get to nearly 400 of them. You don't have to do every single one, of course, but I would recommend doing the majority if possible, so that nothing on test day will ever surprise you. You'll have seen it all. If you can do all the old games, you'll be able to do the new ones as well. If you're looking to level up your prep, I do recommend writing your own unofficial logic games as well, so you can better understand things from the test maker's perspective. I personally learned a ton when I wrote my own unofficial logic games. I've written nearly a ton of them. They're available to students inside the LSAT Unplugged prep course, along with my detailed walkthroughs and explanations for those logic games as well. But I recommend writing your own. You'll better understand the unique tricks and traps LSAC lays for unsuspecting test takers. It's a great way to level up your understanding of games and get yourself that much closer to perfection. Now, wherever you are, wherever you're scoring, you might be looking for a score increase of 10, 15, 20 points or more, and you may be wondering, how much work do you have to do to get into the 170s? In my view, asking how much work to do is actually the wrong approach. You don't ask, how much do I need to do? You just basically do as much as you possibly can. And of course, I don't want you to burn out. I don't want you to do too much more than you're capable of doing, but I do ask a lot of my students, and that's how we get those extraordinary results, those success stories you see on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so on. What I ask of my students is to do, on average, 500 questions for every 10 points they're looking to increase. Your typical LSAT student out there will typically have to do 10 exams worth of material to improve 10 points, or in other words, 1 exam worth of material for every point they're looking to increase. So if they're looking to improve 20 points, they'd have to do 20 exams worth of material. However, when you properly review your mistakes in sufficient depth, when you go the extra mile, and you put in that work to understand exactly what mistakes you're making and why, so that you can avoid making the same mistakes again, you extract those key takeaways from diving deep into your misunderstanding. That will allow you to extract the key takeaways that ensure you never make the same mistake again. I've developed a framework for this called the Socratic review method. This framework asks us a series of guiding questions regarding, say, logical reasoning, for example. Did your mistake stem from the stimulus, the question stem, or the answer choices? If it was in the stimulus, what tripped you up about the stimulus? Was it that the conclusion was buried in the middle of the argument? Was it that there were no clear indicator words for evidence and conclusion or for sufficient and necessary? Was it the inclusion of difficult or annoying words like unless, except, until, and without that require extra translation to disentangle what they're saying into clear conditional statements? Was your mistake in the question stem, not being able to properly identify what exactly the question was asking for? Or was it in the answer choices, tempting wrong answers, unappealing right answers? If it was a tempting wrong answer, what made it tempting and what ultimately made it wrong? If it was an unappealing right answer, what made it unappealing for you and what ultimately makes it correct? You have these traps of encouragement towards the wrong answer and traps of discouragement away from the right answer. And only by taking the difficult, time-consuming steps of painstakingly documenting your thought process both initially and upon reflection, only then can you ensure that you will never make that same mistake again. And so this approach that I have my students partake in, this Socratic review method, what this allows you to do is do fewer LSAT questions. You can do half the number of questions, 500 questions to improve 10 points, rather than having to do 1,000 questions to improve 10 points. And for those who want to go the extra mile of my students, I encourage them do all 1,000 questions and improve 20 points instead of only 10. So if you're looking to go from 150 to 170, you would only need to do 10 exams worth of material rather than 20 exams worth of material. And if you keep a log or a mistake journal of all your questions that gave you difficulty, your key takeaways and insights that make sure you avoid making the same mistake again, you will improve that much faster as well. You will increase the efficiency and the speed with which you can complete additional problems and get those key takeaways to continue improving and increasing your score along the way. So there you have it, my friends. This is the approach I have my students take to improve their LSAT scores into the 170s, perfection on logic games, and then minimizing their mistakes in logical reasoning and reading comp through the Socratic review method, allowing my students to increase the efficiency of their LSAT prep. If you found this video helpful, please do me a favor, share it with someone who needs to see it. Maybe you know someone who's aiming for the 170s, but has not yet been able to perfect their logic games approach. You can share this video with them to give them some ideas of how they might be able to increase their exposure to the vast majority of logic games out there, to engage in the process of writing their own logic games from scratch. You can share with them how they can increase the efficiency of their prep by engaging in the Socratic review method to document their mistakes, extract the key takeaways. If you found these insights helpful, shared in this video, it may make a major difference for another LSAT student as well. So please take a moment to share this video with them. It could change the nature of their LSAT prep and help pave the way for them achieving a 170 plus on their LSAT exam, just as it can for you as well. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.